secret files of Teletraan 2.
Hello everyone and welcome to a special edition of From the File to Teletraan 2, Teletraan 1.5 if you will. Calm yourselves now. Take a breath. Because we're going to talk about a Transformers comic.
Oh my god.
I didn't tell Andy beforehand.
Ah!
He thought this was Annihilation.
I did.
And he's only finding out now.
It's annihilated my boner. Am I right, guys?
Yeah, but not not like a main, like, I'm assuming not a main one, and not a main Transformers comic.
Is this an ongoing?
Maybe. At least 6 issues.
Okay, so we don't know. It's a mini at the moment. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So we are talking about the newly released 25th anniversary, first ever full reboot. This has never happened before, of Transformers Beast Wars.
Oh, Beast Wars. Okay. When you said a full reboot, I was like, I was like, I don't know.
So this is, well, it's sort of like, it's marketed anyways for the 25th anniversary. And yeah, this is the first time Beast Wars has not had a story that is somehow tied to the show or G1. Every other bit of Beast Wars media is either directly tying into the show or tying into an existing Generation 1 continuity. This is the first standalone, we're going from scratch here, kids. And it's described as Beast Wars Ultimate by the writer.
Wow.
Which, he does not realize the loaded nature of that sentence.
Are we going to have a scene where Rhinox eats a potato and farts and kills Megatron?
I really hope so.
Same. But actually, to be fair, that would be a nice reference if it's in the background somewhere, like the potato plant.
I'd rather, like, Rhinox suddenly says we don't believe in the French and gets really pissed off and racist. If we are going down the ultimate route. And, like, one of the Transformers gets really creepily too into you. And another one
I'm not sure which one that is. Which is that one?
The Nightcrawler. I was thinking of Ultimate X-Men and Nightcrawler, where
okay.
I think he kidnaps Kitty at one point.
Jesus Christ, Ultimates.
Yeah. And there was a time Wasp got eaten. But hey.
And Hulk said he wanted to rape Betty.
Yes! And also
then
eat someone.
her. Yeah.
Your heroes. But it was grounded. It was realistic. They were telling us that at the time. Remember that? Do you remember?
I do.
They were saying it was grounded and realistic. Really?
I do remember liking the Marvel's The Ultimates as well when I first read it. I was like, wow, this is so edgy. But then obviously I've grown up and been like, wow, this is just terrible.
I will defend Ultimate Spider-Man to a degree.
I never read that. I only read The Ultimates.
It is the best one.
Okay.
It only really got bad when there was a crossover.
I did hear people liked Ultimate Spider-Man, to be fair.
Yeah. It was a decent, like, basically they said, like, why don't we just do the whole teen thing but write him as a teenager instead of like a little adult, but we want to market him as a teenager.
30-year-old Peter Parker.
I'm in high school, fellow kids. But yes.
Oh god, that would have been amazing if that was ever in any of the films. Oh man.
I don't know.
Steve Buscemi as Peter Parker would be great.
It would. Also, the fact that most people playing Spider-Man in high school are in their 20s.
Yes.
And it like, you seem to be a slightly more beardy than the average 14-year-old.
To be fair, my Spider-Man was always the 90s cartoon, so he was in university. So, to be fair, he looked like he was in his 30s then, so he was still too old.
He was repeating. He was a mature student.
How long was he repeating university for? To be fair, it would also make in-universe sense because he keeps having to leave class and stuff. So
he keeps having to drop out. He probably has 10 years worth of student debt behind him, and he's just like, I'm going to pass this year. Which then makes the whole thing with Black Cat a lot creepier.
It does. Didn't he live with Aunt May as well still in that show?
He did.
Yeah, do you think she was ever like, Peter, I want you to leave so I can have sex with Ben again, please? It's been so long since Ben left me.
I've had to go to the docks so many times.
Oh no, Aunt May at the docks again. All the sailors are like, oh, it's Aunt May.
She's got her handbag out.
We got.
I've only got change. Will
kids,
it do?
Kids, for those of you who might not have been around to see the 90s animated Spider-Man cartoon, Aunt May was like a grandma in that as well.
Yeah.
She was not the sexy Marvel Cinematic Universe Aunt May.
No. She is your grandmother.
Yes.
But anyway, so yeah, this is at least 6 issues, with the option to continue if it does well.
Oh.
I have read the book, and I have read some reviews for first time in a while.
I'm sorry.
I was curious to see what the general reaction was.
I look forward to hearing about them.
I will say it has gotten more attention than any Transformers book in the last 2 years.
Is this because it's probably the most interesting book we've had for a while, Transformer-wise? Mainly because, some shade. The Brian Ruckley stuff is, again, as we've mentioned once or twice, slow. Slightly slow.
Slightly slow.
Slightly slow.
So, anyway, this is written by Eric Burnham, who is a prolific IDW writer, and is behind one of their most popular books, which are critically acclaimed books, which is the Ghostbusters run.
Oh, okay.
He did basically all of it, including the Transformers versus Ghostbusters and both Turtles versus Ghostbusters series.
Okay.
The Turtles ones especially were very well reviewed. And those I have read. I haven't read a lot of Ghostbusters, but I have read that. He also did Back to the Future. He did some Back to the Future. And for other things, he's done stuff like Vampirella, Chastity, Red Sonja. So he has a type outside of licensed books, shall we say.
Right.
Yeah, so he is a guy. And Josh Burcham, and I think I don't know, it's not his first time being an artist officially, but it is his... this is the first time he's on a book as a main guy. Yeah, he did some work for Animated. He did some work for a couple. He did the holiday special for IDW. I remember that. But this is the first time he's been taken on as main artist. For anyone who doesn't know, Josh is usually a colorist.
Yes.
Used to do More Than Meets the Eye in a lot of books back in the day.
He did color this one as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did everything. He pulled a Nick. So, letters by Jake M. Wood, edited by David Mariotti, Tom Waltz, and Riley Farmer. So, the book opens with Gulliver. We'll get back to that. Gulliver meeting with the Tripredacus Council and explaining that his group is going to steal a golden disc off a maximal base and use it to do bad shit. Yeah, while he's explaining this, and the Tripredacus Council are, shall we say, dubious? Mm-hmm. Scorponok, Dinobot, and Pterosaur break in to steal the disc. Pterosaur is Naruto running around the place trying to murder people. And he goes to kill someone, and Dinobot just knock him the fuck out and go. They argue for a bit, and then Scorponok ends it by shooting the guard and saying, we're done. Meanwhile, Waspinator, Tarantulas, and new character Skuld are at a... Skuld, she is a snapping turtle. Or she will be. Break into a shipyard. They find a transwarp capable ship that looks like it would murder you, aka the dark side. Blow up all the other ships there, and then decide to make a run for it. The Tripredacus says, this is a wonderful plan. You're thinking outside the box. We like your initiative.
You're moxie, kid. You've got good moxie.
We do not think this will work, and therefore we do not condone your plan. And Gulliver said, you're mistaking this call for, a submission. The plan's going, and I'm leaving, and I'm going to own all of you. By the way, I'm Megatron now. Deal with it. And he leaves. Ramhorn, Seaclamp, and Cicaden are I like... Their attitude is basically, he's not good enough to succeed at this. We probably shouldn't worry in the long term. Meanwhile, we cut to the Axelon, where Rhinox is training with his friend Optimus Primal, who is chafing a bit at this whole scout ship, non-combat, boring shit, really. He wants to be somewhere. He doesn't want to be delivering babies. He wants to be off there doing something cool. Then they get a message from the helmsman Nyx, who I don't know where Nyx... I just figured out where Nyx comes from.
Where?
She's based... her design is based off of Onyx Primal. Onyx.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh,
her Earth mode, anyway. So, Onyx.
Oh, okay.
No.
I would have used someone else, to be fair, but... There are lots of established Beast Wars guys that you could have pulled from.
Right? I read in an interview and they said like we wanted to use someone new with no expectations.
I mean,
don't I just read the words? Don't.
If I was going to throw out some kind of defense, I'd say there are a lot of Beast Wars characters that have no expectations tied around them because they only have a toy for them and nothing else. And hey, if you want to be generous, they might have been in the original IDW Beast Wars run.
God, who wasn't in the original IDW Beast Wars run?
That's a fucking good question. Jesus.
Anyway. They get a call from Ironhide, who says that some Predacon separatists have stolen something invaluable. You are literally the only ship nearby. Optimus figures it out. He's like, okay, I'm pretty happy about this. We're going to intercept them, make a move.
This is Elephant Ironhide, by the way, not G1 Ironhide. In case you didn't know, just in case.
Yeah, this is him, like, with the weird red head.
Yes.
Yeah, and basically they think the dark side is going to use transwarp to jump in time, which apparently, according to Rhinox, is not a good thing to do. Yeah, so eventually the Maximals catch up, or rather, I suppose it's more like the dark side catches up to them because they just positioned themselves in their predicted path. And a firefight breaks out. There's a bit of back and forth. Tarantulas figures out how to use the transwarp, and Megatron just says like, yeah, we out. Rhinox says, wait, we're actually going to do it? This is really fucking dumb. We'll do it. And they lock on. Pterosaur wants to blow them up in the middle of a dimensional rift, and Dinobot's kind of like, maybe don't do that. They come out the other side, and as the Axelon reemerges, they open up firing. Eventually, it just comes down to Nyx having a terrible idea of ramming the dark side and seeing what happens. They hit. Both ships are badly damaged. They're going down. Rhinox ejects their cargo, which of course is protoforms who might be saved one day. They crash, and the computers on both ships identify the planet as having a very high energon yield, so they are going to need organic forms to survive, and both groups are scanned into beast modes. The Maximals wake up, and they're just kind of like observing what they are. Nyx is very excited about having wings. The Predacons wake up, and they are a bit more goal-oriented. Megatron says, like, we're awake, that's great, these guys are probably still alive, I want them dead. And the book ends. It is a quite quickly paced read.
Did you notice on the panel where Megatron says enemies will be eliminated? There's a bird that steals a lizard.
Yeah, it's this interesting page layout where like it's the same. Megatron's in the foreground and like the background's the same.
Yeah.
But there's like the panels repeated like 3 or 4 times, and in each one like a new Predacon appeared behind him or gets into a closer position, and there's this lizard in the corner who's just sort of looking around, and then a bird snatches him.
I don't know. Yeah. It seems it's funny because, you know, the lizards are generally associated as the Predacons. Birds are usually Maximals. And it's just like, is this foreshadowing?
It was actually a razor.
I'm hoping like a giant super bird comes and picks up Megatron in the next issue and flies him away. And he's like, what the fuck?
No. We only got 2 yeses in this, by the way.
Yes, I imagine they're not going to try too hard to lie on the memes, or rely on the memes, I should say.
Yes, I've read a few, like I said, I've read some interviews with the writer, and he's like, I'm more interested in doing something new, but I want to keep, like, he still needs to feel like Megatron.
Yeah, because we didn't get Ultra Gear from Cheetor either. Granted, we didn't get much from Cheetor in general.
To be fair, back in the day, when he said that, I was kind of like, could we not get that up from you, please?
I didn't even know he did it. I remember, like, at an auto assembly that in James Collette, and they were like, Ultra Gear, and I was just sitting there going, is that a thing?
What are you saying?
Why is he saying this? And
did Goku say that in the dub?
Beast Wars. I was like, when? When did he ever?
I think he said it less as the show went on.
Yeah, he barely says it at all.
I think he says it after he gets like his Transmetal 2 form at one point.
Does he?
But that's when he's like an angsty teenager wanting to bang Black Arachnia.
To be fair, it was just like all of us, I suppose.
And the creators.
Fair play, yeah.
But anyway, so that, like we said, it's a fast-paced book. Andy, what are your initial impressions of this new series?
It's very much like a slight addition to the first episode. And when I say the first episode, I kind of again just mean, ooh,
First
let's
10
be
minutes,
generous.
really.
Yeah, 10 minutes, if that.
Mm.
So I don't feel there's, like, you mentioned that the writer wants to do his own thing. I don't think there's much he does do, but I mean, it is an issue 1 at the moment. It just feels like the first episode. The only real difference is, like you said, Prime's a bit more, I don't know, he acts a bit more like Cheetor in some ways, or at least an older Cheetor.
For me, like I said this online, for me, he reads as animated. I hear David Kay's voice when he's talking. I like, sometimes I could get Gary Chalk going, but he's younger. He's got that element of, I don't really want to be here. He's got an older friend who's kind of cautioning him a bit. And then he's given a mission and he's like, yes, thank you. Yeah,
Rhinox isn't like Primal's old friend, which he was obviously in the original show. They seem more like respected friends who'd been together in war or combat missions or been together for a while, where here, like you say, it's more like a student and teacher kind of, I'm going to teach you the ropes, kid, kind of attitude. I guess that's a new take on Beast Wars, but it, like you say, it just kind of feels animated-y, I guess. I hadn't even considered that, but that's a fair point.
To be fair, like, once that hit me, something about this whole setup felt a lot more animated than, like, Beast Wars the G1.
Yeah, definitely. You said all the pieces are falling into place. Bumblebee in animated was the bit of a snarky guy, and we got Rat Trap being the snarky guy.
Yeah. You've got this crew of evil guys who don't really get along.
One of them's extremely loyal.
Yeah, they've stolen a relic. Like, wow. I will say, like, I came away from this, I'll be honest, way more positive than I was expecting to be.
Okay.
Because I was ready to be very, very cynical.
Okay.
Because, how do I put this? They have kicked me in the dick one too many times.
Are we talking about IDW comics, or are we just talking about life?
Well, that, yes. But in the last 2 years, it has been a slog to the point where I literally gave up.
Yeah. I mean, I was already out, but I was doing it for the show, and at some point you caught up.
Yeah. And this felt like it had energy. And like,
it felt like a comic, didn't it?
Yeah, it felt like... Well, like, I think the fact that I'm saying, like, Primal felt young, I felt like that affected the book. The book felt young. Like, he's... To be blunt, he's using contractions. Like, he's talking like a human being would talk. He's clearly making mistakes. I don't think, like... I think one thing, though, is... Apart from him and maybe Megatron and a bit of Dinobot... a new reader is not getting a huge sense of anyone except that Rat Trap's a snarker.
Yeah, there's not even a huge amount of tropes that you can pick on to put onto people. Maybe the briefest on Dinobot, maybe the briefest on Pterosaur.
A little bit for Rhinox, maybe, because he has that moment where, like, we could talk to them.
Yeah, he's your teacher kind of optimist.
But
that's about it. I've no idea.
The character focus strictly on the two big guys.
I'm surprised they didn't put more focus on the two new characters that they were introducing, because no one has any idea about them. Obviously, that'll probably happen as we go on, sure. But from
like, apparently, like, again, one of the interviews I read, Burnham's really excited about Scald.
Okay.
Because he said his approach to her is that she's actually really shy and, like, one of those ones that kind of feels like she's on the wrong side. But he doesn't. He says he's not writing her as she'll switch sides.
Right.
But this is like, it's her coming of age story, in his opinion.
Okay.
Like, she's going to rise up into being a proper Predacon.
Right.
And like, she does have, like, when she does have a couple of lines, I do notice there's a little bit of a stutter.
Right.
So I'm wondering if that's, again, like, I'm just basing part of this off the writer's intent. We won't know for a few issues, I suspect. But yeah, so when I was reading the interviews, the reviews rather, a lot of positivity, but whenever I found negativity, it was always someone saying, this is just the episode from the TV show, and the TV show did it better. So
I guess I can kind of see where they're coming from, but it's also not the entire first episode. Like we said, it's like the first 10 minutes, so it's half of the episode.
And I think, like, for me, like, the main focus is that first setup up until the fight breaks out.
Yeah.
Like, because the nature of the fight is boom, 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 crash. So for me, I'm more focused on that first half of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I rarely do this, but I laughed out loud in at least 3 points in this book.
Oh, did you? What
Yeah.
points? I remember I saw that you mentioned that
Yeah.
on Twitter, but I couldn't find any points that really
Because
hit me with the comedy.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just because I was like, I wasn't expecting like there to be witticisms in this,
Right.
because I honestly wasn't. I was expecting kind of a dry writing style. But there was just like that bit where he says like, I want to be careful about this. I'm feeling a bit rusty. You know, you're a cybernetic being, right? You should get that checked out. That made me laugh. It's a dumb line, but it made me laugh.
That didn't make me laugh, but it made me think: was that a deliberate idea to put in our heads that he was already going down the Beast Machines route, and was it like a way to tidy that stuff up to make like, oh, do you remember when Primal goes fucking crazy about wanting to be all about the beasts? Is this like the kind of first step towards that? I didn't really see it as a joke. That probably should have been how it was.
Yeah, I feel like you may have just gone from point A to point Z there.
Perhaps. maybe my big brain move was too big. I was that asshole who I always hate, who looks too deeply into things when it's just a fucking joke. What does it mean? What's the deep philosophical behind the joke?
What is rust?
What is rust? Is it oxygen? We don't know.
Are we rusting in our souls?
Is the human condition of aging not merely rusting of the metal? Fuck.
Meanwhile, the giant robot monkey. It was just a joke, man.
Yeah, Prime's just in beast mode. Return to monkey.
I would pay if that line was in there somehow.
Return
Primal,
to monkey.
return to monkey.
Yeah. Oh man, if you had a direct communication with the writer, I wish you could send him that message. Just get him to put it in return to monkey.
Yeah, just please have that line in there, like he's
somewhere
overloading in robot mode.
Yeah,
Primal,
like,
quick, return to monkey.
Yeah, Primal's damage to something. He's got too much energon built up, and it's Rhinox that tells him to do it.
Yeah, dead straight faced.
Hell yeah. Monkey must be spelt without the Y though.
Yeah. Like, oh no,
K-E.
a typo.
Yeah, we didn't mean to do that. Whoopsies. Editor would notice, maybe.
Yeah. Well, John would notice.
I'm hoping he wouldn't refer it if you gave him a schmeckle or two.
No, you just tell him like, you could put this on the wall, John.
Put it on the meme wall.
John? How will you turn this missing Y into something huge?
Exactly.
10 years down the line.
It all comes back.
But anyway, overall, I was pretty pleased with the writing. I'm not sure what else I really would have wanted. Like, I wouldn't have minded a bit more originality, like like a bit of differences in the setup. But I'm also very aware of like changing a very functional setup, which this is. And in many ways, the Beast Wars setup is much better than the traditional G1 setup. Changing it that way, for the sake of changing it, rather than keep like saying like, okay, this works, we're going to use it, and then we're going to build from it, and things are going to go in their own direction.
Yeah,
I'm probably happier with that. Like, artificially modifying a setup because it needs to be different usually hurts the story, in my opinion. As much as sticking with the exact same thing does. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with the writing. What's your overall take on the writing?
I mean, in terms of a setup, I think the original IDW Beast Wars book was more interesting. That felt like a different take, even though it was more of an addition. There was something new there. This does feel like a standard setup for the most part with Beast Wars that didn't really diverge at the moment super hard from what the original show did. You could easily argue that with a lot of the Transformers comics from IDW when they have been reboots, like how different is this as a setup? Because I do think it has stagnated a little bit. Like we've gone from them going to Earth to always being stuck on Cybertron now, and how a political war's starting off, and that's the setup now for Transformers. Rather than when IDW started, where I think when IDW took Transformers and did the Asian series, even though that had lots of issues to it, it was an interesting, unique setup.
You had a lot more freedom then to have a different setup.
Yes, I would agree with that as well.
Yeah.
So although I it's not that I dislike it, it's just at the moment it hasn't really wowed me. in terms of what it's doing with its story.
Mm-mm.
But I'm sure, there's like 5 more issues to do that. This is just like setup. I'm hoping that from here on, they'll start doing things. But I don't know what I want them to do. But then again, it doesn't matter what I want them to do because they're going to do what they want to do. And that's the most important thing, I suppose, to tell their story.
I'm going to make a prediction here.
Okay.
Dinobot's going to change sides.
I think that's a fair assumption.
I'm also going to say, like, I was reading the interviews and he just said, like, spoilers, Dinobot changes sides. but then he followed up, like, but unlike before, we're not having him being shot into the distance and being pissed off over it.
Are we? Oh, God, yeah, I forgot they did that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Boom! Dinobot changed sides. Why? Because you shot him at a mountain.
It didn't help, that's for sure. Do we know if Black Arachne has been added to this?
She is apparently on one of the covers.
Okay.
But I had a look at it and I thought it looked more like just a tarantula in shadow.
Right. And I suppose even that doesn't mean that she's inherently going to be in the book.
I know that Burnham wants to bring her in eventually.
Okay.
And I know, like, he said, like, one of the things about bringing in Nixon Scold is that I wanted a female Transformer in there early without having to wait for Black Arachnia or Airazor.
Fair enough.
So, to me, that says I'm planning on bringing them both in, but I don't want to bring them in immediately. I want to set up the main crew first. I mean, there really wouldn't be anything stopping you from adding the two of them, apart from the fact that you'd probably lose her maximal origin if you wanted to play up that element of her character.
Sure.
If you just introduced her as, like, I am a Predacon. But, anyway, so that's the writing. So onto the really controversial thing, the Marmite element of this.
Oh, okay.
The art. I have seen high praise and I have seen high criticism. What is your take?
I will always say that I think the style is interesting, and I think it does have its ups and downs in terms of the proportions shifting here and there every now and again. But it's kind of that style where I guess it's kind of expected. It's a bit more. What's the right
animated.
word?
Don't say
animated.
animated.
I was going to say animated, but not as in actually Transformers animated.
Yeah.
It's more cartoony, I guess.
Yeah.
It's more like a cartoon, how it feels like there's a deliberate kind of stretch and pull to it rather than, say, like Alex's style, which is more like the idea that they should be a solid shape and they shouldn't deviate from that shape, if you know what I mean. I
do you know what it has?
What's that?
Like, in a lightweight, a very Gendy Tartakovsky feel.
Oh, especially for sketches. Yeah, I could see that. That's actually a really good description of it. There's obviously a bit more diversity to the shapes rather than Gendy's work, which is just like one shape usually for a person.
Because he can't draw anything else?
No, he did hella well for not being able to draw, though, did Gendy?
Yeah, he just said, what if I did a box? Will you care about a box? Yes, we will care about the box.
Apparently we will. I will always say this about the colouring, though. I don't think this style of colouring works for this art style personally. I think a different colorist would always do better. I'm not saying Josh is a bad colorist. I just don't think the slightly more muted tones that and this was even more colorful than we're used to with Josh's work.
I was thinking that when I was reading it. Like, it's more vibrant than is normal for him.
Yeah, but even then, I still think a different colorist with this style would be better. Like, again, throw Joanna or Daimuch on here, and I think the colors would have a bit more pop to them.
Yeah.
But thankfully, there is more saturation here than we usually get with Josh's work.
Yes,
which I like.
Yeah. I think I definitely prefer this look to a lot of his coloring.
Yes.
And again, that's just preference. Like, I know some people
totally.
like worship the ground he walks on, and the guy is very talented. It's just like, I am someone who likes poppy, vibrant colors or deeper. Like, if you have an option of doing a red, I'll always lean towards deeper red.
Oh yeah. Or a brighter red, I suppose, depending on the situation. Just stop like reducing saturation on stuff.
Yeah,
that's not him. I'm not saying that to him. I'm just saying, like, we live in a society, Mikey, where desaturation is a thing that especially in films and TVs, they love to fucking do that shit.
Everything needs to be as dour as possible.
Make it grey. I mean, look at all the DC movies until like Aquaman came out.
Yeah, and that was kind of overcompensation.
A tad.
Still, apart from Shazam, the one I had the most fun with because it was just so fucking stupid.
It was.
But it wasn't trying to be pretentious bullshit.
No, thankfully. Yeah, it was a fine movie, but not amazing.
Yeah, it was just like, we know what this is.
Mm.
And Shazam is just a much better film, but Aquaman knew what it was.
I
But
haven't seen Aquaman. It's meant to be pretty stupid, isn't it?
it is incredibly dumb,
Yeah.
but it is competent. And it is not pretentious.
Hang on. Obviously, this is deviation from the comic. Is it better than what mine and your general opinions of the Marvel movies are, or is it about the same? What do you say?
I think it's dumber than the Marvel movies, but I think...
Is it more fun?
Yes.
Okay, so I could enjoy it potentially more so than
You could
Marvel
potentially enjoy... I will not say you will.
No, yeah, totally. Go with potential.
Yeah, but, I enjoyed it more than most of the Marvel movies I'd seen up until then.
Okay.
Certainly 5 years before. But, so the art style itself, for me, is interesting.
Yes.
I love stylization. I love a bit of creativity in the style. Some of his design choices, not more than the style, don't work for me. Like Primal's rabbit ears in his Cybertronian mode, I found very distracting when I noticed them.
They are very, very large, yeah.
Yeah, and Megatron's underbite.
I don't mind the underbite.
one-
I think the underbite, at least for his dinosaur mode, is neat. I like it.
I don't know, it throws me off. I think it's because, I'm trained, even now, even when I'm thinking about style, I'm trained to expect a certain, in still images, people are going for a certain perfection. And, Josh isn't. He's very actively going for an imperfect art style.
Sure.
And also, another thing is, the previous art styles we've had in the last couple of years in Transformers books, they've had wonky proportions as well. But that is honestly more of the fact that the artist is inexperienced, or whoever's putting the comic together has put it together in the wrong way, or there have been severe perspective problems in the previous books, and unfortunately it's biased me against them.
Agreed.
But again, Josh is going for, this is part of his style. It is not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be dynamic and sharp angles and draw your eye in. And I think I like it. I'll probably need another book to be sure.
Agreed,
but
yeah.
I think I do like it, and I just like seeing a bit of creativity. Josh isn't being tied down by toy designs or anything. He's done mostly his own take on the Cybertronian modes. I can see hints and elements from other properties in there, but they're not rip-offs. And the Earth modes are the Earth modes, and he's just going with okay, they look kind of like they've always looked.
I generally didn't like the Cybertronian modes for most of the guys. Most of them I looked at and was no, I look forward to them getting to their Earth modes as quick as possible, because I think they look better. Like Rhinox's weird mohawk.
Yeah, Rhinox's head was
tall.
weird. Rhinox's head was very odd. I kind of like Dinobot's bandolier though.
That was neat. Yeah, that was okay.
I also kind of just love a scene where Pterosaurus seems to be threatening Dinobot, and you're just are you suicidal?
Yeah.
Do you just not need your arms? What's going on here? It's you really want to pick a fight with me? Do you really want to pick a fight with him?
You seem to suggest something about Megatron's previous name, Gavlar. Is it Gavlar?
Galavar. What the fuck? I feel like someone wanted to give something that sounded vaguely like Galvatron, because Galavar goes to Megatron. It's clever. And it's just I didn't like it.
It doesn't even sound like a name that really suits him. I mean, granted, I do have the bias of knowing him as Megatron.
Yeah.
So maybe that's going against me, but Gavlar? I don't know. Seems weird.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Especially since everyone else just had the normal names. They didn't do the whole thing, my name's Cheetor now. It's just no, your name's Cheetor. That's your birth name. That's the name your mommy gave you at birth. Deal with it.
Why didn't they call Megatron T-Rexatron? And he's no, my name's Megatron.
Why wasn't he just T-Rex?
Oh, yeah, that would have been cool. That'd be all right.
And you could say
it would be T and then T dash WRECK.
He was say he was a spy or something in the maximal ranks.
That could work.
And then this is just him going nope.
Yeah.
And then people go T-Rex. But Yeah. Anyway, I don't really have much else to add. Like, there's a ton of references in here, but like, you don't
know
need
what
me
they could have called Dinobot?
Oh God.
Dinobot, but with a Y.
I could call you dead. I can call
and
you a
then
corpse.
Dinobot's like, I'll be called Dinobot now, and everyone's like, that's the same name, and he's like, no, but with an I.
But I will accept that only if every time someone says the name Dinobot, he says that's Dinobot with an I.
It's with an I. Please emphasize that.
Yeah, like that's his thing. If that was it, that would work.
Not Dwinobot, Dinobot.
Yeah. What's your rating? What is your rating?
I give this a good solid, like, it didn't wow me. I'd say a 6 out of 10. It's like, it's good. It's competent. It doesn't wow me. The artwork's okay, but it does very much feel like, hey, if you've seen the first 10 minutes of Beast Wars, it's got a little bit extra on, but not a huge amount, and there's not a huge amount of character to it. But, it's fine.
I'd actually agree. I was originally going to go with a 7.
I wouldn't fight you if you did go for a 7, because
I do like it. I do like it. I do like this, but I think this is a starter. I want to see what this book turns into, because the elements of this book that I think will continue, Megatron, Optimus, those little elements, the Dinobot, whatever, these are not what the emphasis of the book are on. The book is on the setup and the getting the beast modes. So I want to see what's next. I want to see how this, whether it does it slowly or quickly, morphs into its own identity. So I'm going to give this a 6, because I think this will probably get better once it has its own stuff going on. And I do not want to, like, suddenly say, like, oh, I give this a really high mark at the start, and, like, these later issues, how do they compare to it? Like, this for me is a baseline. I
would also throw out, if people aren't aware of how we score, for like other places, what we give it is probably a 7. But we're a bit more conservative with our numbers than other places. I guess.
We have the opinion that 5 means middling.
Yes, exactly.
It's the middle, so it's middling.
Yes.
So, but like, we're not like a game reviewer where anything under 85% is like the worst game ever made.
So much.
Oh my God, this game's so shit. I can only give it a 7 out of 10.
That's like, a good score, though.
World are you living on? Yeah. Can you count?
We're not grading them like mark papers in exams for high school. Come on now.
Like, so we definitely think this is above average.
Yes.
But we want to see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely. When's the next issue? Next month? Or
is it next month, assuming it doesn't get IDW'd in terms of its schedule.
That's true. The schedule for IDW stuff's been
apparently it's been better in the last couple of months. Obviously, I haven't been keeping up, but like I just read somewhere, just like schedule seemed to be good in late 2020, early 2021. But I know that Nick Roach's the last book of his Scarenthood got pushed back a week.
Right.
So I don't know, which I have to catch up on. I read the first issue of that, and I need to finish the other 2. One thing I did want to say here is that this is technically an oversized issue, because it's got some interviews and concept art and stuff. So this runs $3, €3, or £3, whatever it was, more than the standard issues.
All right.
So so they are charging extra for this book. I saw a lot of people freak out and think, is this the new price? And I'm just like, no, this is technically a supersized issue.
It's got extra bits in, yeah. That's fair
I'm
enough.
not sure it's necessarily worth as much as they've sized it up, but that's
the industry, I guess, isn't it?
That's the industry. Which apparently is taking a kicking at the moment, so I suppose they need the extra pennies.
To be fair, they were taking a kicking before the whole thing was going in, so I imagine it's taking even more of a kicking now.
Yeah. Anyway. Also, I heard a rumor that Black Adam might be renamed to Shazadam.
Shazadam? That's terrible. That's a really bad name. That sounds lame.
Just a rumor, just this thing I stumbled upon where a guy said, like, I heard from a friend who's in the know that Black Adam's going to be going through a redemption arc and he's going to rename himself Shazadam.
Don't do it. It sounds bad.
I would be ashamed of you.
Yeah. Here's a question I do have for you on this comic, though, at least, Mikey.
Yeah.
Or rather, a statement. I can throw out a statement first. I think I'm more interested in this becoming an ongoing series, and there's potential to do something interesting with this than the current ongoing for Transformers. And it's an ongoing for Beast Wars and not G1. So again, that's something that hasn't been done, or wouldn't have been done.
I would like to get at least a year out of this.
Yeah, and then you know what I'd like it to do?
Have an ending?
No, well, yes, but move on to then being a Beast Machine series.
Yeah, that could be done. I mean, I'd maybe want a bit more, like, maybe a year or two before I'd go into a Beast Machines.
Yeah, I'm not setting a scale for when it has to happen, but then you could lead into Beast Machines is what I'm getting at, which would be quite nice. And make the elements type a little bit better than they did, obviously, in the show, which had its issues. But it was a great show.
Yeah, had its issues with the whole being a sequel thing.
Yeah, and you could even do the whole thing instead where it's Primal who turns into the bad guy.
Yeah,
and they need to find balance with Cheetor instead, which, again, could be quite cool.
Maybe make the whole Megatron Ghost technophobic or organophobic a bit more natural than it was.
Yes. Lead
but
into
also, I forgot to mention this, and it was the most important scene in the book.
Oh, I'm glad I talked shit until that happened then. Okay, what's up?
There is a scene after they crash.
Yes.
Where we see.
Yes.
Waspinator in bits.
Yes.
And I was very pleased.
Was he pulled apart by those arms, or was that just due to the crash?
I like the idea that he crashed, and as he hit the ground, he exploded and just landed on the arms in pieces.
Oh, see, my thought was maybe the crash and it was okay, but then the arm short circuited and pulled him apart.
There's just because, like, he seems weirdly competent in the start, and I was just like, are we going to make him too? Like, are we going to fall into the trap where we can't have Waspinator be Waspinator? Just like, oh no, there he is. There we are.
I'm surprised they didn't do something like where he's completely fine and it doesn't have the weird voice tick until after the crash.
That would be, but...
And then it's like, oh man, his like brain or spark got really damaged in the crash to the point where we can't fix him, so he's going to be a bit weird now, guys.
Yeah, no, it could have potential there.
Do you think we're going to talk about the indestructible sparks? Or they're just going to have the Waspinator exploding as a joke forevermore and never explain it?
I would hope so.
Okay.
Because I don't, like... Okay, Rampage was fine. I don't really need a big, like, explanation about Starscream's a ghost. He was a ghost. I like that episode. I'm not saying I don't like that episode, but he was just a ghost. I didn't need, like, turns out he's a genetic anomaly.
Yeah, that was a weird idea. It's okay.
Great, it got you to do Silence of the Lambs with a crab, but still.
As a kid, when Starscream came back as Ghost, I never thought, how did that happen? I was just like, I know ghosts. I understand that concept. He's a ghost now.
He's dead. He's not.
Yep.
But he's still kind of dead. And then he got brought... Especially since, if you want to go with G1, he got brought back at the end of G1.
I did, yeah. And then got killed again, maybe.
Yeah, I liked it. He was just, like, floating in space and, like, well... Sooner or later, he'll hit a planet and then an asteroid goes through his brain.
Oh, no.
All right. Anyway. Guys, thank you so much for listening. This will be out pretty quick. And the Patreon show and the regular show, where we are going to talk about Annihilation and something in Patreon as well, is going to be following up. This was something I definitely didn't want to stick behind the paywall.
What are we talking about in Patreon? I can't remember.
I think it's Atomic Robot this time.
Oh, okay. There's not any Transformer ones that we need to cover up. Okay.
No, like Back to the Future is still going on, but from what I've read, that's going to be like the other crossovers and is better done as a unit.
All right, cool.
Because we've made mistakes too many times of starting those and going like, you know what? Let's just wait.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And then forgetting that we hadn't finished it. But anyway, keep up the work, guys. I'm very interested to see what comes next. As always, if you want to leave any feedback, moonbase2@gmail.com, Facebook, Libsyn, Twitter, Weebly, and everywhere else. And if you want to contact me, it's Irish Paleo on Twitter. Andy.
Yes.
Who are you?
You can find me on YouTube as Cobra Commander TFW, on YouTube as on Twitter as CCTFW. You can find me on Twitch as CCTFW there as well. You can find us on the Moonbase 2 places like Facebook, Libsyn, iTunes. You can find us on the forums. You can find us on the ccbunker.weebly.com, and you can head over to patreon.com/moonbase2 and do $2 each month for the extended version of From the Files of Teletraan 2, which isn't this show, it's the other show. And you also get that one a week early, not this one because Mikey wanted this as a special, so surprise. And you also get the Moonbase Woo Woo for the month as well, where we talk about non-transformer transformer thingies. Woo! And I think that's it. Yeah, cool. We're done. Done diddy dun duns.
Done. Go home.
Yay.
You are now leaving Moonbase 2.